Everyone, welcome to A Word with Kelly Scott Reed. Today we're here with Donna Vorreyer. Donna is the author of four full-length poetry collections, Unrivaled, which forthcoming, yes, just a few days from now, right? Isn't it like the 7th of October?
Yes,
Awesome.
Unrivered.
Unrivered. I said
Come,
Unrivered? I should have asked for that pronunciation. Oh my
that's
gosh, it's
okay.
gorgeous.
It officially coming out on Tuesday, but is in pre-orders now.
Oh, gorgeous. And Every Love Story is an Apocalypse Story. A great title. I do love your titles, I will say, even though I thought
Thank you.
that was another word. A House of Many Windows, all from Sundress Publications. Recent work has appeared in Ploughshares, um, in Rough and Yaw as well. Um, Harpur Place, Poet Love, Pleiades, Colorado Review, Baltimore Review, Salamander, and many other journals. Donna currently lives in the western suburbs of Chicago and runs the online reading series 100 Pictures of Honey. She's the co-founder, co-editor of Asterales, a journal of arts and letters. You're probably going to have to correct me on that one. But If You Go Into the Woods Today was published by Ruffin and it's in the upcoming collection. So this is awesome. This is kind of perfect timing, I think, this conversation, right?
Yes, it is. Thank you for having me on your. I love watching the interviews you do with people because I think your interviews that you do, your conversations with people, I very much like um, your approach to the journal, which is really interesting stuff, but always with a little sense of humor and a very personal kind of touch. So I appreciate being here. Um, yeah, I'm very excited about this is my fourth collection with Sundress, so they're kind of like my little publication family now. Very lucky that they keep saying yes. They don't automatically say yes, still has to go through their board. So I'm always very pleased when they do. And this book is kind of an exploration of kind of a culmination of things that happened in the last, 5 or 6 years where um, pieces of my life where I thought I knew like who I was or how I identified myself started to kind of be like pulled out or drained away from me. So like both my parents died. So, am I still a daughter? And then I quit my 36-year and retired from my 36-year middle school teaching career. So I'm not a teacher anymore. And then I retired actually during lockdown. So then, during
Mhm.
lockdown, like you're not even a person in the world anymore. And I'm also getting older and I'm in my mid 60s. So like, there's so many things that change, the body that once like carried you through running marathons now like hurts itself reaching for a cereal box. So I kind of thought about the idea of if the body is like a landscape, then you're as you get older, you're really becoming like unrivered, like all the things that sustain the community of you kind of start to be drained away. So what do you do? Like what do you
Mm.
do in that drought? Do you just give up or do you kind of reinvent yourself? And that's kind of the struggle that the book works through. Um, and I think it's one that kind of everyone goes through at some point, maybe some people earlier or later than others, but that's kind of where the impetus for the book came.
I think it's funny it's kind of again perfect timing. We're now in our I think fifth year for the press, and it started during the pandemic when pretty much everything went away. So three people working together, like, what are we going to do in this time? Like everything is different and changed. I'm the oldest, and Tiffany's younger, and Marianne is in the middle of the two of us. And I felt like I was going to be a full-time yoga instructor. What am I going to do? But then we decided to do the press, and it was like, oh, that's so cool. So there's all the like, what are you going to do now? And then as it's unfolding, maybe it being kind of cool as well, not being such a bad thing. Some
Right.
of these things that happen during this time, I think it's been combo, combo both. Like,
Yeah. Well,
one of my
I think it's,
questions. Go ahead. So sorry.
no, I was going to say, I think it's always a combo of both, right?
Yeah.
And if you only look at the down sides of it, then you never kind of work your way forward into something
Right.
that is, maybe different, but could be just as rewarding or bring you just as much happiness. So
Mhm.
I think that's hopefully in here too.
Awesome. And would you have a story? Here's one. What was the first story that you picked for it? Or piece that you picked for it? I keep saying story. Piece that you picked for it and why?
I think that the fir- the st- well the I think I'd have to say that the piece that is the structural kind of glue of the book, which is Don't Ask Me Why, a heroic crown of sonnets. Um, I do love a sonnet, but I had never written a heroic crown before, although I looked up to people who have done it, like Patricia Smith and many others. But I had written a sonnet that I thought, oh, this could be a linked series. Let me try it. And then kind of it kept going, and I was like, okay, can I make it all the way to a heroic crown? So, for people who may not know what a heroic crown is, it's 15 linked sonnets. The first 14 start the second one begins with the last line of the first one, and then the 15th one is all 15 first lines that are reconfigured.
Oh,
And I think because that crown went so many places, both physical places, we were in the forest, we're at the ocean, we're in memory, we're in now, we're in the kitchen, we're in so many places in this string. Um, but also like lots of different references to, fairy tales and Frankenstein
mm,
and Macbeth and all these things. The sonnet is expansive. The crown is expansive. And I thought, well, and I was writing a lot of poems about aging already. And I thought, well, if the crown is this kind of the structural framework, how could I build a book around placing poems in between those sonnets that kind of resonated either image-wise or sound-wise or topic-wise to create kind of an arc from this kind of lost feeling to a feeling more of kind of acceptance and moving forward at the end. So probably the crown had to be like the impetus for me saying maybe this is a book. I was writing
mm.
lots of poems, but I wasn't specifically saying I'm going to write a book about X. And I think when I finished The Crown and I was pleased enough with it, I thought, well, maybe I looked at some of the other things I was writing and I was like, oh, there's this image in The Crown. That image also shows up in this poem. What if I tried this? And it went through, lots of iterations as manuscripts do. But that's kind of the core piece, I think, of the book.
That's very cool. And this is, I mean, you said the fourth. Let me just make sure I have that right. The fourth um publication. Yes,
Yes.
fourth publication with Sundress. With them or with anything, I shouldn't be very specific. What's the most helpful criticism that you've received, like through the editing process or in general, that's really helped you?
I think my best piece of writing advice, I don't have an MFA. I was a middle school teacher, and did not, I have, education masters, but I don't have an MFA. And so I wanted to, when I started to like kind of saying, I think I want to write, take this writing thing more seriously. I took workshops at the Iowa Summer Writing Festival, which is open to the public with amazing instructors. And I kind of found for lack of a better term, my mentor there, who was Diana Getch, and I took classes with her several summers. And when I was starting to submit, it's a very discouraging, process, especially when you're first beginning and, you don't have a lot of confidence. And I remember her telling me, you always write the piece you're writing like it's the most interesting and important thing in the world to you. But once you send it off like you don't care about it at all. You've done the hard work, right? You've done the putting the thing on the page that you needed to put on the page. You've wrestled with it, you've revised it, you've made it shine the best you can make it shine. And what anybody else thinks of it really doesn't matter. So, kind of to have this attitude of once you send things out, that it's not a personal thing, right? It's not a bruise every time you get a rejection because you did the work.
Mhm.
And I always loved that. That really helped me when I was first starting to take those steps. And then I think the best piece of advice I've gotten working with Sundress over the years um, is basically try it. That I'm taking this risk because it's not my typical thing that I usually write. When I was started writing the second book, it was going to be a bunch of poems that were based on the journals of Lewis and Clark. That is not what it ended up being at all. But said they gave me that I like, well, try it and see what happens. And what happened was it turned into something completely different. Um, but I wouldn't have gotten to that completely different place without trying the other part first. Um, so I think that kind of encouragement to keep pushing. I'm never going to. Every book isn't going to sound like a different person because it's me writing, and I do have certain proclivities or whatever, things that I do. I'm never going to be an avant-garde poet or a language poet, that I or a beat poet. Those are not my thing. But I do like kind of pushing myself by boundaries a little bit by trying things that are different or new. And I think they've been very encouraging with me in doing that.
What would you say your voice is? Like, sometimes you were just saying they encourage you and you're trying new things. When you're trying something new, is the new thing you're reaching for, or does that speak to who you are and what your voice is already?
Yeah, I think for me, I think the things that I see in my writing that are kind of an identifiable voice are like kind of a careful attention to sound.
Mm,
As an English teacher for 36 years, I love words, right? So, that I have an ear for diction and sound that is it shows up in a lot of poems. And I think though sometimes because of that, I get caught in a cycle of what my workshop group sometimes likes to call pretty poem is pretty. You know, I'm I'm very enamored with how it sounds, but it's not really
mm,
doing the work it needs to do to be a successful poem.
mm,
Um, and I think because I still draft longhand, my drafts tend to fall somewhere between like a 12 and 20 line range. So I'm kind of in that sonnetish kind of range quite a bit. Um, and I need to push myself to write longer than that. So I was
mm.
very pleased with some poems in this collection that were written in parts, which is new for me, like longer poems in parts. Um, and playing around with not specific forms, but kind of repeating language, kind of creating my own forms, playing with strange line breaks, kind of wordplay, things like that. So instead of just, I can knock you out a pretty sonnet in 10 minutes. And it won't necessarily be a great poem, but it'll be pretty. I need to work hard at not getting too, like I said, too in love with the way my words sound.
Mm.
And I'm also working on trying to do some things which I really admire that other poets do, which is take larger leaps, without explaining everything. And sometimes those large leaps are really surprising and lovely.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's always something to work on that's new, which is why poems are fun.
Really, and do you have any influences or people that started you that you really admire, even if there's someone that isn't like your your style? I mean, a lot of the times my influences have nothing to do with the style I write.
Yeah, I would say, early, what made me love poetry early on. Well, really, I would say two things. One is song lyrics.
Mm.
Um, my mother always had music on in the house. Um, I cannot remember what I walked in the next room for, but I can sing you the entire soundtrack of Jesus Christ Superstar. Um, song lyrics stick in my head. And I think they're like kind of my first influence in terms of language
Mm.
and poetry, because they're everywhere all the time. And the lyrics are an important part of music for me. Like if I don't like the lyrics, I don't want to listen to the song. But in terms of actual poetry, early influence, my dad encouraged a lot of classic reading. Um, and so I read a lot of Frost and Edna St. Vincent Millay. when I was younger. And I think that that kind of rhythm and sound and structure kind of worked its way into my bones long before I ever started deciding I was going to write poems. And I did write songs in high school and college. And I think that was kind of my first kind of foray into poetry. Now, I do love to read anybody who writes differently than me. I think I learn much more. Like I love reading like C.D. Wright, the long lines and this very rich language, or people like Mary Ruefle, who has such humor in her work, and I find that so hard to do well, to write with humor. I love Amora Kiwi's poems. I think they're at the same time both plain spoken and have so much depth and use um, images and ideas and references that are kind of universal, but that are very specific to his life too, which I think is something. He's one of my favorite contemporary poets, I would say. And I've been reading a lot of new, younger women who I find just wonderful. Heji Choi has a book out called Salvage, again, in which she uses such humor to write about things that are not at all funny,
Mm.
which I think is such a very difficult thing to do. Taylor Bias's work with form, both in her first book, I Done Clicked My Heels 3 times, and her new book, Resting Bitch Face. What a great title. Um,
It is.
uh, she does so much with form and ekphrasis and things that are considered to be kind of old-fashioned in poetry, and just brings them into now really beautifully. I could keep listing people, um, but
So what kind of music influenced you? So you said Jesus Christ Superstar. I write songs too.
oh gosh, well that's
So
well,
yeah.
when I was young, I listened to whatever was on the radio because we didn't have a lot of, all the other things to listen to music on. So I knew a lot of the, pop music, but pop music in the 70s was not great. So my brothers and I were more rock and roll kids, um, for sure. And, everybody else was, doing disco in high school, and, we were listening to Rush and Pink Floyd and,
Oh, I
bands
have
like
to
that.
tell you my Rush story.
Oh, please do.
It's so funny. I think you'll find this hysterical. So I was like during the pandemic, a Mini Cooper that is like the fastest thing in the world. There's like nobody on the road. And Rush comes on the radio. Listen to classic rock just for fun. I just through the things. I whip up Tom Sawyer, and I'm driving as fast as humanly possible. It has to be 90 miles an hour, and I'm not exaggerating. And then I see the lights. No. I pull over. I've never had a ticket before. And I said, "You're my first ticket." It's true. I've never had a speeding violation ever. And he heard the music playing. And I go, "But I'm like 50." And Rush came on and he thought it was so funny he didn't ticket me. So
Oh,
I don't
that's
remember what this
perfect.
guy's name was, but he was so nice. He burst out laughing. I go, "It's Rush. I'm 50 years old." Yeah. Give me a
The
break. It's a
thing, I love
pandemic.
it.
But I love
Yeah.
Rush too. I'm from, the Northeast. We're so close to Canada. You guys too. So it's like some of that music kind of gets a little bigger where we are, I think.
Yeah. And I think now, I mean, my taste is all over the place. I probably listen to just about everything except I don't really listen to a lot of country music.
Mm.
Um, but I'm very odd in the fact that, so like my very favorite band is Nine Inch Nails. Um,
Oh my gosh. On my yoga mix, I have the stuff Trent Reznor did for Soul,
oh,
the
for
soundtrack stuff.
Soul. Okay.
Yeah, and it's so great for yoga. He's awesome. Very cool. Very nice.
Um,
Oh, we have very
and
similar taste.
yeah, and well, but then also like my second favorite band is probably the Decemberists. Like you couldn't get more different.
They're so
I've
focused. That's what's great
yes,
about them. Their
yeah.
lyrics are so rich,
You
very
could
good.
teach vocabulary class from Decemberist songs very
Yes.
easily. Um, but I think that, in this book, music creeps in, almost always. So there's a poem with a line from the vaccines. There's a poem that references Achtung Baby and Even Better Than the Real Thing. There's a poem there references some old ballad my parents used to listen to called Autumn Leaves. I mean, there's always music. There's a
Oh,
poem that
wow.
didn't make the cut in this book, which I love, but wasn't quite ready, which is an ABCDarian, which is now that's what I call music, the MRI edition, where because when I lay in the MRI machine, I just imagine that the different patterns remind me of different pop songs. So like
Oh, I love that.
at some point I'm hearing the baby 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 from Devo's Satisfaction and you know
Yes. Oh, that's
so yeah,
great.
I'm still working on getting that poem to function properly, but yeah, music
I
is
love that.
a huge
Yeah.
influence
Yeah.
always.
That's exciting to me. I love that. I would always try to keep these interviews down to like 20-ish minutes so that people will watch them. And then I get talking to someone, I'm like, I have so much to tell. All right. I'm gonna control myself, but we'll talk some other time in general,
Yes, we
just in
will
general.
talk about music.
Um,
Yep.
yes. So let us know where are we going to be able to find, and I could put this information in in our information on the on YouTube, but where
Uh,
can people find your book?
well, the Sundress website, which is sundresspublications.com, in their store has the book right now. It's right now in pre-orders, which means it's on sale.
Okay.
And then it officially releases on Tuesday, October 7th, and the price will go up a little bit, but I think it will still be on sale for a little while. During pre-sales, which is the next, just 5 days or so. Um, they also donate a portion of each pre-sale to a charity of
Hmm.
their author's choice. And I've chosen this year World Central Kitchen because there are
Oh
so many
my.
places in the world that need food, and I just love what they do. So if you have it, if you see this in the next 5 days or whatever, can do that. Um,
Oh, well, my husband and I support World Central Kitchen. My husband has the greatest shirt that he got from them that says "Immigrants Feed America" on it. And when I told him it was the sexiest shirt I've ever seen in my life, and he didn't believe, he's like, "What is wrong with you?" I said, "It is. I don't know what to tell you." So we go out in public. Every woman that passed him went, "I
stops
love
him.
your shirt." Like, I
That's great.
don't
Yeah,
care.
they're a
Yeah,
wonderful
yeah. It's
organization.
awesome. Oh,
And then it's
cool. I'll be
available. Yeah, it's available through, Barnes and Noble and, Amazon and anywhere that orders through Ingram or bookshop.org. Support your local bookstore. You can order through there. Yeah, so it's widely available.
That's awesome.
And I'll be kind of, I've tried to tell myself this time around because my last book came out like during lockdown, so I didn't
Mhm.
really have much opportunity to read from it or to do a lot with it. And so I have reminded myself that, a book has a long life. And so I'll be out and about
Yeah,
and on the internet, reading, love to see people pop in and
awesome.
hear it.
Do you ever get to Rochester area, New York area?
Um, no, it's not usually I mean, not regularly. I'm not out
Okay.
east regularly. I have
Okay.
friends that live in South Jersey,
Mm.
closer to Philly. And so when
Yeah,
I'm
we're
out east,
way far away.
yeah, when I'm out east, usually that's where I
Yeah.
am. But you never know. You never
Yeah.
know.
Well, maybe sometime because we had a reading. Someone from New York came in and read at this place called Book Culture here in Rochester, that is in Pittsford, New York, which is an absolutely awesome place where they put on a whole spread and there's a whole group of people come. And so I've always seen if people come by, we can host something. That's why I'm always asking.
Oh,
So
great. I
we'll
will
keep this in
definitely
mind.
write it down just in
Awesome.
case.
Donna, thank you so much for joining us on a word. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was such a fun conversation.
Have a good day.